Greetings and salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today I want to talk about what went down in Kips Bay, New York City, when a suspect in a murder was pulled out of a building. By the way, this is a wheelchair-bound suspect, and a bunch of angry neighbors were surrounding him and decided that they were going to get their licks in on this guy because they were very not happy with this guy's alleged crime. Now, we're going to get into this. We're going to talk about the crowd and all of that. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
A disturbing scene in Kips Bay. The body of a woman found stuffed in a bag.
And tonight we're hearing from the victim's heartbroken mother.
So before we get into this absolutely chaotic scene that went down in the city of New York, I think it's important for you guys to understand why the crowd was so angry, what made them so mad, and that of course was the scene that was discovered in the early morning hours, which was a sleeping bag that contained a human body that was essentially left on the curbside for pickup by sanitation. They quite literally threw out this victim, who is 31-year-old Yasmin Williams, like trash on the side of the curb. So obviously people who are close to this person, people who knew this woman, who by the way I believe worked with homeless people, that was her calling, that is what she did, were very upset by the situation. Add into the fact that you have a grieving mother that is also in the neighborhood, along with friends and family, and a very notable description of a suspect that they ultimately ended up pulling out of this building, and you can understand why people were absolutely losing it.
Yeah, when he was taken into custody, it got really ugly, which you're about to see. We're on East 27th Street. The location where the woman's body was found has been turned into a memorial tonight, but all the attention this evening was focused down the block, mainly around an individual who police tonight are not naming and have not charged yet, but because of surveillance video on the block that shows somebody in a wheelchair being involved in disposing of the victim's body, her family and many people on this block seem more than convinced.
So I want to make something 100% clear for everybody out there in the audience, and that is that this person, as of right now, has not been arrested. He has not been named a suspect. The reason the police were questioning this particular individual is because the surveillance video, again, according to the police, and maybe the family actually ended up seeing this surveillance video, because sometimes they clue them in on certain aspects of the investigation that they wouldn't clue you or I in on, or the public in on, especially when they're honing in on a suspect, showed a man in an electric wheelchair, a black male, helping to dispose of the body with another individual. So while I don't know for sure, and to be clear, the police are not saying for sure that this person is the suspect seen in that surveillance video, the fact that he is a wheelchair-bound black person who lives a block and a half away, who apparently rides an electric wheelchair, was enough for people in the crowd to decide that they wanted to take action, and take action these people did.
Anger boiled over in Kips Bay when police took a man into custody around the corner from where the body of 31-year-old Yasmin Williams was found stuffed into garbage bags.
So as my viewers probably noticed, I had to black out the entirety of the screen, and this is because a massive crowd of people were punching this individual who was on a stretcher as he was being wheeled by the police and by ambulance services for questioning or something to that effect, and obviously these people believe that he was guilty. Now, for those people who are my visual viewers of these videos, not the podcast listeners, I will show you some raw video from before this guy was actually wheeled out, because I can't show you the violence because I will get age restricted, just so you can get an idea of the temperature of the crowd, how upset these people were, and exactly how many of them there were. So I want to make something clear to those of you out there in the audience who might be confused about why the police, when faced with this angry crowd, decided that it would be a good idea to wheel this person out into said angry crowd rather than using a back door or something like that. So it appears to me that this happens to be, according to the reporting, a NYCHA building. So it's run by New York City. It is low-income housing. It is just referred to as housing in the city. So that means it very likely that this was the only entrance and exit from the building, period, point blank. So the police essentially had no choice but to wheel this person out. But considering the level of violence, and again, the raw video will be linked in the description of this video, and the local news segment will also be linked in the description of this video, so you could check it out for yourself. Obviously, they did not do enough to do crowd control. And again, while I have no sympathy for murder, and I understand why this person is a suspect. Again, quite rare for a black individual to be a block away in an electric wheelchair, quite similar to the one that is supposedly seen in the surveillance video. I do want to point out that I can't support this for two reasons. First and foremost, I just can't advocate for vigilante violence on this channel. I apologize to those of you out there in the audience who really want me to. I understand the anger, I understand the hurt, and all of that all these people are feeling, and that the family is feeling. It's a horrible murder, and again, they disposed of this woman like she was trash, and it's absolutely disgusting. And second, I have no idea if this guy is the guy. Just because I might think it's rare for a black person to be in an electric wheelchair to live a block away like this guy happened to be, the fact of the matter is, if you were a disabled black person in the city of New York and you didn't really have a job, you would likely be living in a building like this. So it is entirely possible, although not likely, that this guy is not the correct person. He is not the suspect that they're looking for. And essentially what you see in this video is a crowd of people attacking a potentially innocent person, punching him in the face repeatedly, assaulting the police, by the way, who are trying to get them away from the scene, and he could be completely innocent. Now, I'm not going to rate the likelihood of that right here on this channel. I still think probably a rare person to be in that building, but the fact of the matter is that possibility is still open, and if true, they attacked a defenseless man in a mob at the behest of the family, and I know the family feels right now like they got the guy, but I know that they would feel absolutely horrible if this was an incorrect person. Again, I know a lot of you are going to say, look, Sean, the surveillance video was clear. The guy in the electric wheelchair looks just like him a block away. Why are you being so cautious? Well, it turns out, latest update from the New York Post, the suspect, known as Chad Irish, actually has a twin brother who has the same name. So if that brother was in the same area, maybe he decided to use the wheelchair, we could be looking at a frame job. Again, just throwing it out there for the possibility.
Down the block, police sought out a man sources tell Fox 5 is a person of interest in the murder. In a wheelchair, when he was brought down to the lobby, he was being transferred into a gurney while still in the lobby, as a crowd outside started screaming and banging on the windows. Once the door opened, family members and friends of Yasmin Williams unleashed their fury.
So local news ends up showing you another bit of the crowd footage, and you guys can see for yourself, they're banging on the glass. This is obviously an escalating, chaotic situation. It's getting completely out of hand. And again, while it's understandable that people would be enraged about a murder of a member of their community, somebody who actually is working to aid people in the community, again, this person worked with homeless people, obviously the crowd control is sincerely lacking in this particular situation, and officers and EMTs ended up catching stray punches, not to mention the intentional acts of violence that were committed against them in order to get access to this person. And while the local news cuts this particular video, I can tell you from the raw footage, they're screaming to kill this guy. So again, an absolutely crazy situation, and if I were the police in this situation, let me Monday morning quarterback an absolutely impossible situation for them, then maybe, just maybe, I would have tried to stall the crowd out, although that could have the effect of allowing the crowd to amass even greater numbers, creating an even worse problem. So honestly, maybe you should just take my words on this with a grain of salt, but there has to be presumably a better way, probably more officers, in order to deal with this particular crowd, even if they are justified in focusing their anger on this particular person.
As police officers and EMTs desperately tried to fend them off, several people punched the man in the head, angrily jumping over him and leaping over anyone in the way to get at him. Some could be heard begging the crowd to kill the man, while others were tearing his shirt from behind. The man pleaded his innocence at the angry crowd as the EMTs and police tried to load him into the ambulance, all the while trying to push back at people surging to attack the man.
Look, it seems like to me that there are maybe around 10 officers in this particular situation, or at least there are 10 uniforms in this situation, and some of these people I could be mistaken for New York EMS services, which often wear the same colors, but in the chaos, it's hard to tell which are which, and this is just not a great situation to put your police officers in. And even though this guy is claiming to be completely innocent and all that later on, by the way, they ripped off his face mask during the course of this, It doesn't seem like what you should be doing to the police, whether this guy is guilty or not.
As soon as the ambulance bolted, Yasmin's mother held her hand, overwhelmed.
He's disgusting. He looks like scum.
Like, I feel the pain of this woman right here, and I understand that the person that she believes as of right now is involved in her daughter's murder does look disgusting, does look like scum. By the way, a lot of people were commenting on the appearance of this guy, and he looked significantly worse when he was attacked and all beaten up, and they were ripping up his shirt and all of that. So I do understand, again, the anger of the crowd, specifically from people who are family and close friends, although I am certain there are people in this crowd that were just looking to get their licks in for entertainment. Now, I am all in favor of heckling suspects. I am all in favor of a community coming together to try to shame the criminal, because we have a criminal justice system that appears to bend over backwards to aid the criminal. But I also want to add that we actually did a story out of New York State. Anna Kasparian covered it. It's one of the most famous viral clips from her transformation, or whatever you want to call it, where she talked about how dismembering corpses and disposing corpses is not a bail eligible crime.
Dismembering a corpse and hiding a corpse after dismembering it, not bail eligible, not a serious crime. I'm not even kidding, guys. Like, when Joy Behar outlined that case, I was like, she's crazy. This isn't a thing. This isn't real. This isn't real. So I looked it up. It's real, guys. It's real.
Well, if they don't actually link this guy to the homicide at any point in time, he's going to be released automatically back into this neighborhood, which, by the way, is not only dangerous for the community if he's somebody who's involved in murders and dismembering corpses and disposing corpses, but it's also dangerous for him because obviously the community not really interested in anything this guy has to say. They are much more interested in vengeance. So it's kind of something for people to think about when they just say, oh, well, we got to let all these people out. Bail reform is absolutely fantastic. It's so much safer for everybody involved, when obviously this could lead to escalating violence, again, from the people who are angry at him, not to mention the fact that he is likely, again, as of right now, to be the person in the surveillance video. Although, to be fair, I haven't seen it, so I will say allegedly. And since these people weren't convicted of punching him in the face, they allegedly did that, even though it's on video, because that's how we gotta roll on this channel.
Yasmin's body was found Friday, stuffed into garbage bags and left out on the street on East 27th Street, just off 3rd Avenue. On Monday, the medical examiner's office determined the cause of death to be a gunshot wound to her head.
So as you heard right there, this appears to be an absolutely brutal crime. It appears to be, as of right now, an execution-style murder. So yeah, this woman did not have a chance. And for her to be disregarded like this, disrespected and disposed of, it's just horrible in every way. And if you're seeing what they're seeing on the police video, some guy dragging the bags with an electric wheelchair, I understand why this person is one of the suspects or persons of interest in this particular crime.
Sources tell Fox 5 police have a surveillance video showing a man in an electric wheelchair dragging the garbage bags to that location, which led Yasmin's family to wait outside the building down the street.
Look, people are always going to have emotional reactions to situations like this, because obviously it's deeply personal for the family, but I also believe that this is one of the symptoms of a more lawless New York City. The fact of the matter is, you have District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who refuses to prosecute anyone for anything. You have statewide bail reform. You have things like less is more, which makes it more difficult to violate the probation and parole of individuals, and any or all of these could have played a role in the fact that either of the two suspects, or more suspects in this particular instance, were out on the streets in the first place. When the system doesn't hold people accountable, when people don't believe that it's even capable of doing so, a bunch of people are going to try to take things into their own hands, and it has disastrous results right here. And by the way, everyone is in more danger when this is allowed to happen, because not only are the criminals out loose on the streets, but people are afraid that even if they step up and try to help put them behind bars, that they're not actually going to go anywhere, and they might suffer the consequences of it. Not to mention all these other people who are angry at the criminals, who want revenge, who are deciding that the only way they're going to get any modicum of justice is to take the law into their own hands. Now, obviously, I feel absolutely horrible for the mother. Anybody losing a child, it's one of the worst things, as it's been described to me by many people who have suffered through that, and I wish her any modicum of peace, and I wish her justice, honestly, for the death of her daughter. Let us not forget that the focus of this story, although very much in the headlines is this attack on the suspect, is that a 31-year-old woman was murdered, possibly execution style, and disposed of on the street like she was trash, and that needs to be answered for. We need some consequences for that. We need some justice for that. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you side with the mob, or are you like me, thinking that maybe there should be a little bit more caution this early in the investigation? If you like this video, then show me by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about an angry mob going after a wheelchair-bound suspect. Till next time.